was at my son's school's gala, and they were auctioning off naming rights for the Sports Performance Center.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I had to...
Did you get it?
Well, see, here's the thing. I did have to corner the head of school later after the gala and say, hey, you should pay me for not bidding on this.
Quiet, please.
And he looked at me like I was an idiot.
Oh.
He's like, well, why? We would love to have the bid on it. I was like, well, yeah, but you would have had to call it the Little Performance Center. He looks at me, just starts fucking laughing. Just loses it. And he goes, we had an Indian family here whose last name was Poor. Maybe you could have done it together. I'm like, oh yeah, the Little Poor Performance Center. Fucking stitches. I was just like, got him.
In 4, 3, 2.
Company presents a truly terrible podcast. Welcome to Nonsense Season 2, Episode 19. I'm Jeff Parker.
Line.
Did you forget who you were?
This show gets harder every week.
This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time, we'll look at bugs. Literally a trillion bugs.
A trillion bugs?
A trillion bugs.
Yet another episode about just Windows.
We're looking at the Windows source code. It's National Do Something Good for Your Neighbor Day.
Oh, fuck those people, man. Come on.
Time to express gratitude to those who are closest to us. According to the promoter of this day, a neighbor is not merely the person who lives close to you, but anyone with whom you can share a kinship. I don't think that's true. I think it's just people who live close to you.
Yeah, I think it literally is just people who live close to you. But
wonderful things happen when people come together as a community and help each other during good times and bad. How is your week going?
There are a few things that annoy me more. I'm annoyed by litter. I'm annoyed by lack of empathy.
Sure.
But people that don't talk to their neighbors and can't just be like a decent human to their you literally live here. It's literally where you spend at least half of your life.
You see them or you don't see them. If you just don't see them because they're shut in and they've got the doors closed, or people you see who don't talk.
Or they just they just blank you. It's like I live like 8 feet away from you. What's wrong with you? What are you doing? Say hello.
That's not my neighborhood. If I go outside and I say hi, that's 2 hours of my life.
Yeah, they just talk to you for the whole time.
Oh my goodness, you will just never get away. Because I live on a street of old people.
I was going to say this is the Belmont Village story right here.
Exactly. They're
Good
really
morning,
happy to have somebody to talk to.
This is my favorite. When you do the pleasantries, like here's how this works. Good morning, how are you? Fine, how are you? Fine. Move on. When you say good morning, how are you? People are like, well, my canary's sick. You're like, fuck, exactly. Here we go. What happened to your fucking canary? Well, the previous canary, I'm like, you're talking about the new canary yet. I'm already talking about the last canary.
Oh, and even worse, they have they have them, I'm sure, in every block in the world. There is a WhatsApp group. Just for the block.
Yeah.
And it's just the most awful thing you've ever
Do you ever
seen.
just go pop a bag of popcorn and go open up Nextdoor and just see what's going on there?
I don't want to know. I don't care.
Mine's great. I promise you right now on Nextdoor, within the last 12 posts from my neighborhood, someone's like, saw a coyote today, be safe. I'm like, we literally live in their habitat. Yeah, sure. What do you want to do about it? We live where the coyotes are. Meanwhile, the coyotes are on Nextdoor. They're like, saw some other asshole, little dog today.
Exactly.
Fuck.
Let's go grab some lunch. You're seeing coyotes.
Yeah.
On our WhatsApp chat, it's just pure racism.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
I don't think they mean it to be. I think they're trying to be, but they're like, there's a homeless person who, no, it's not. That guy's a record executive. He lives here.
Okay, first of all, most people who are acting racist actually intend for it to be racist.
Well,
I don't think there's a lot of accidental racism happening. I think it's like...
Just because he doesn't dress like you does not mean he's a homeless person.
This happened one time to someone who was a listener of this show, used a slur around me, and I looked at him, I was like, what the fuck did you just say? And he told me, I was like, you can't say that. And he went, oh, I thought it was a term of endearment. I was like, who told you that?
To whom?
Exactly. He was like, one of my friends. I was like, no. And it totally, the poor kid didn't know. He just didn't know. And it has forever corrected his course of action. But I don't think that's what's happening on your street of well-experienced individuals.
Your week, I'm sorry.
My week this week, I did something fun for the first time. I love you to have all these first-time experiences with your kids. I took them to laser tag. It was for another kid's birthday.
Sure.
Went to laser tag. As it turns out, I thought I knew the rules of laser tag. I do not.
You point the laser, you hit the sensor, and that person's done.
And you do it before they do it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I knew. I thought those were the rules. They are not. I went out on the blue team with my son, and my wife went out on the red team with our other son.
Okay.
And there's also a green team. And I made it a point to shoot all of the red and green teams and not the blue teams. Again, thinking I was doing the right thing.
Sure.
After about 15 minutes of this, my wife said, she was with my youngest son, Jack. She said, stop shooting him. Let him just shoot one of the other kids. And I was like, well, it's not my fucking fault he's slow. The kid's 4. She have a shit together. And then I started paying attention. I was like, all these other parents are giving me like the stink eye as I'm blasting their kids from 30 feet away. And I was like, maybe I should just shoot the adults. Fuck, I'll just shoot the adults, I guess. But apparently you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to
don't
shoot
punch
the kids.
down.
I wasn't punching down. It's fucking laser tag. Like it's darkness. You just
Are the lasers different colors? Can you tell if you've been shot by friendly fire?
Maybe on the back of the laser gun, it might tell you what color shot you, but I couldn't tell. Someone's looking at you and laughing. That's usually how you know. But it was we had a ton of fun, and my kids did great. I did not think they were old enough for this, but they really had a blast, and it was very enjoyable.
My experience with laser tag and kids' birthday parties is you quickly get the kids out of the way, and the dads just go at it.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
That's been my experience in paintball. We should go do a little nonsense paintball session. That's also a blast because it's like laser tag, but it hurts. You just do a 1v1.
Okay.
It'd be great. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. The kids loved it, and they have already asked to go back like 3 times.
I'm sure.
There was another equally enjoyable part of this was the co-host of this event, who's a friend of mine. They make very explicit rules that you cannot bring alcohol in.
Of course.
And he brought in, of course, a bottle of mezcal and tequila, of which we were drinking a little bit from. And then we're playing our first game. They confiscated it, and they told us.
Of course they did. You're lucky they didn't kick
They
you
told
out.
us we could have it back when we leave. And I was like, oh my, it feels like high school again. Like we smuggled in alcohol and we got busted.
Did they give it back to you in high school?
did.
They shouldn't have given it back to you in high school either.
Well, it was the cops. They drank with us. How was your week? How are you doing?
My week was lovely. I took 3 Waymo rides in Los Angeles. I
Yeah?
downloaded the app, and then you have to wait for them to email you the
Okay.
magic code that unlocks the whole thing, and so that you can ride.
Yeah, sure.
And I have to say, the rides were spectacular. I was super impressed. At no time did we hit a parked car.
Okay, bonus.
At no time did we go down a road the wrong way. I'm not saying it will never make a mistake, but humans make those mistakes too. But it was a great experience. It was really cool. It's amazing this works.
It is okay. I agree with that. but
Any
I'm
sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And that was 100% the case here.
So here's the thing. We live in a town of, there's 4 million people in Los Angeles City alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're idiots. Most of the time, they're idiots.
Oh, for sure.
Especially when they're driving. So sometimes you have to drive. Literally Monday of this week, I had to drive on the wrong way on the road because there were 3 people blocking the intersection I was trying to get through to get my child to school.
Yeah.
So I literally had to go around them. And I'm pretty sure the Waymo would just sit there like a very nice, patient Canadian, just going, sorry, not sorry, sorry.
Yeah, the Waymo doesn't
Sorry.
do anything illegal.
Go ahead.
Also, it dropped me off at a restaurant that I needed to go to, and I was like, what in the world is it doing? Because we went down this different street. It was like 3 streets ago, you could have pulled over and let me out. What are you doing?
Didn't want to block traffic?
No,
Yeah.
because it wouldn't have blocked traffic in the other streets too.
Sure.
What it had done is calculated when it lets me out, how do I get the rest to the restaurant the fastest?
Oh.
And it needed to get me as close to a crosswalk instead of illegally crossing the street. It got me as close to a crosswalk as it could so that I could cross the street and get to my restaurant. It was actually kind of smart. Highly recommended if you get the chance. Take as many rides in the Waymo as you can. It's pretty spectacular.
I haven't been in it yet. I'm very excited. I'm a little saddened that you got in there before me.
I was going to wait for you, and then I realized, wait a minute,
Why would
it
you
works
wait?
today. I'm going to go ride on this right now.
There's no sense in waiting.
I had nowhere to go. I just took it around town.
Exactly. You're like the guy who just gets on the metro and takes it around town. You're like, robot, just do circles. Just give me the tour.
I think probably if you divide the number of miles driven by the number of accidents that these things have, I think probably the computer-assisted driving is going to win every time.
Oh, sure. I mean, they should make it like when you go to the restaurant, at least I don't know how it is in the rest of the country, but at least in Los Angeles, there's a letter that they post on the outside of the restaurant, which is its health score. They should do that with like the Waymo. You should know, if you do the math, if you divide the number of miles by the number of accidents, you would know how well that service is.
Yeah.
So like you get in the Waymo to be an A, and then you get in the Tesla and it's just a number. It'd be like 36 because it's so bad.
And 36 is just the number of people it's hit today.
Oh my God, it's like an OSHA board. That'd be great. it's you can't do this many days since the last accident because it'd always be 0. It would just be like there's just little like icons on the side of the number of people that it's hit in that day, and then it resets to 0 on the next day. And you're like, oh,
Sure.
I only ran over 2 kids today. This is great. All right.
Let's get to our headlines.
We probably should have done this like an hour ago, but yes, we should get to our headlines before the show's over.
iPhone owners say the latest iOS update is resurfacing deleted nudes.
Yeah.
Did you hear about this? People reporting the apparent bug say they're seeing old photos appear in their Recents album after Monday's update.
It's not just nudes. It's not like they installed a bug feature that said pull up old nudes.
Sure.
And first of all, wouldn't that be kind of lovely?
I know.
I wouldn't mind seeing the old naked version of me.
I would like to see myself 30 years ago. I
Right?
think that would be like a nice surprise.
30 years ago.
What was I complaining about my body 30 years ago that I wouldn't complain more about today?
Is this just playing the Uno reverse card on like the federal government, and it's just pulling like everything that's been subpoenaed? They just subpoena it back, and that's how they get it back?
Yes, I'm sure that's what
something
it is.
like that.
Yes.
I mean, more likely than not. Again, I believe in Occam's razor that this is probably just images that were deleted deleted.
Yeah.
The reference was removed, whatever, from the DB, and it was still sitting there on some piece of storage. Something rescanned that and pulled it in. It's some emerged behavior of this upgrade. I don't think this...
Let me translate that into English for our listeners.
Please do.
When you delete a file from virtually any operating system, I don't know any operating system that works differently. What happens is it doesn't erase all the data. It just takes that entry out of the database, and then you can write over that piece of memory again next time you want to use some memory. And that's basically what's happening, is it just that data is still there, and they're just bringing back that data. That data is coming back to life.
That's effectively what I think is happening. I don't think this is on purpose. But anyway, it sure is a nice clickbaity headline of deleted nudes.
There are ways you can delete things so that they are permanently deleted, or at least more permanently deleted. You can overwrite them with zeros.
That's true.
For self-driving cars, the free ride is over. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has opened investigations into almost all the major companies testing autonomous vehicles, as well as those that offer advanced driver assist systems in their production cars.
This is probably a good idea. Probably a little late to the party on this one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have they just not known how to deal with this problem?
The investigations signal a new and perhaps more antagonistic phase in the relationship between safety regulators and the private sector. The government is requiring more data from companies, especially around crashes, in order to determine whether the industry's safety claims live up to their hype.
The funny irony on this is you have all of the data. You do not have all of the data for non-autonomous vehicles, right? Where you don't have like just regular folks. You have to rely on what, the Nielsen system? How do you get car accidents? Do you just call 10 people and see?
You could track their cell phone data for where they went.
I guess maybe.
I mean, if you really wanted to get crazy about it.
I'm just saying you've got much better data now than you've ever had on cars. Even non-AV cars, you've got better data because you've got stacks in them that are reporting back to LexisNexis or whatever as we've talked about before on the show. But what's your comparative to 30 years ago? It's a lot harder. You have to look like insurance data or something. You don't really know. Anyway, I'm glad we're looking at this.
The companies, much like police forces around the country, are finding that the proliferation of smartphones with cameras is working against them as more videos of their vehicles behaving unpredictably go viral.
I'm all for this. Now, I'm not all for it when it all gets deep faked and somebody just starts deep faking the Chevy Bolt running into people.
Apple has a new iPad ad, Crush, and somebody thought this was a good idea.
I thought it was a good idea. I thought it was a good ad. It's a good spot. It's really well executed.
Apple destroys all sorts of art and replaces it with technology.
No.
They crush it down and it all becomes an iPad. They apologize very quickly, by the way. That was the right thing to do.
Okay, first of all, yes. Like, there's no point in their sticking to their guns on this. They should just absolutely get in front of it and say...
A lot of people were quite upset for some reason. You took this wonderful piano and squished it in these paint cans and you squished them and you made a thin little iPad out of it.
That's the whole point, right? You can do all of these things on your device. And people are like, oh, but the trombone, I don't want to see the trumpet get... What? Like, the whole point is all of these things, all this multimedia stuff, the painting, the emojis, the music, you can now do on this device. And oh, by the way, the device is thinner than it's ever been, so we put all this shit into a giant press. Yeah. It's an analogy.
That's not really how they made the iPad thinner?
No, that is. That's exactly that's their production process.
With a giant press? That's not how they made it thinner?
Everyone in Foxconn, they got to order all this shit off Amazon, and they put it into the press and just turn it on, and then out comes an iPad.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. It's very expensive to make them. That's why they're $12,000 each.
I'm getting it now, yeah.
Here's the thing. I think the misstep here wasn't the overall ad, the overall look of the ad, the concept of the ad. Yeah. They just picked the wrong things to put into the press.
I 100% agree with this.
So instead of doing the multimedia thing and doing the trumpet and the paint cans and the piano and all that shit.
Don't crush the cool thing.
Right? Just put in your office. Just put in your Aeron chair, your shitty desk.
Precisely.
The water cooler. Right. Put all that shit in there and then crush it down. Right. And that's what people would want to see.
I love seeing that stuff crushed, and I love the fact that you don't have to go to the office now because you have an iPad. I mean, just the idea of what that says, I think, is so much better.
They should rework it. Fortunately, Tim listens. So, Mr. Cook, go ahead and put your boss in there, put everybody in there, and just squish them down, and it'll be fine. It'll be like that scene in Star Wars where they get compressed in the trash compactor. Anyway, that would have made it so much better. Yeah, I still think it's a great ad. Did you like the ad? Did you have this?
Visually, it was quite cool, and I love when the emoji's face gets squished.
I know, when his eyes bulge out. Yeah,
I thought that was very clever.
So, did you like the ad overall?
I don't like seeing obviously all that cool stuff getting crushed and destroyed, but also it's props. I'm an adult. I know how filmmaking works. It's okay.
Are you really worried that they destroyed a trombone? I'm sure.
I don't know. People seem to be bothered by the trumpet getting squished or the guitar getting squished or whatever. But
a very pragmatic view on this. I don't know, some movie that had trumpets in it. I'm sure they trashed a couple trumpets in the making of the film. It's what happens. This is we're not short trumpets, folks. There's not a shortage of pianos. It's probably all CG anyway.
Well, maybe that piano there's a shortage of. I don't know. And now there's one less.
Well, there's definitely a shortage now of that piano. That piano will be gone. I just assumed it was all CG. I watch this shit now and I'm like, nobody loaded this all into a giant giant press. It was all CG. That's my assumption, but I don't know. I mean, do you really think they made a giant press like that? That seems like a lot of work as opposed to just shoving it all into a blender.
I don't know the answer.
I'm going to go out
that.
on a limb here and say that it was rendered.
To me, it looks like, and I have friends who make commercials,
Yeah.
to me, it looks like it's real. Like it actually, stuff does get squished and squirts.
Yeah, but I can show you video of a Tesla Cybertruck running into a wall at 80 miles an hour and the wheels blowing off, and it looks pretty goddamn real, and it's just a render. It's just a render with really good physics in it.
I don't believe the Tesla Cybertruck can do 80 miles an hour.
It's downhill.
Oh, okay.
Tailwind.
Off a cliff?
It's a maglev. They shoot it at the wall.
Okay.
I don't think it can do 80 miles. Halfway in, it defaulted and shut down. They had to put in a giant bag of rice to dry it out, and then they did it again.
Senate committee passes 3 bills to safeguard elections from AI months before Election Day. The bills would still need to be advanced to the House and pass the full Senate to become law, creating a time crunch for rules around election-related deepfakes.
On the surface, this is a good idea. How the hell are you going to execute on this?
They're not going to be able to execute it in time, I don't think. Also, they have people who are adamantly against it. They've got a lot of opponents to this.
Well, first of all, okay, my view is generally, how can you be against this? This seems like something you should not be against. However, to my knowledge, there have never been any truth in advertising laws around this before.
Truth in advertising does not apply to our political advertising.
So you can say whatever the fuck you want. You can say this guy's, murdered a bunch of baby penguins.
And there are a lot of politicians who want the ability to lie in their ads, and so they don't want this to pass.
Which I totally get, but like, how about we fix both of those problems? How about just fakes and lying? Like, you should just tell the truth.
We should start with lying, yes. Probably should have started with lying before we even got to deepfakes.
Doesn't that seem weird to me? Where like, do you think somebody suggested that as a writer on this? They're like, okay, we're going to ban deepfakes. Should we put lying in too? No.
Never pass.
We don't do that. Oh.
They worked hard to carve that out when they originally made the...
They carved the lying aspect of the bill out?
They carved political ads out. They are literally carved out of
it is. Oh, I did. Oh, I was being a
advertising.
smart ass. I didn't appreciate that. Yeah.
No, it's real.
That's crazy.
The bills would require AI-generated election ads to be labeled and prohibit deepfakes of federal candidates. Apparently, local candidates were okay with.
You can deepfake the shit out of them. Yeah, no problem.
Related to this, the Senate has unveiled a $32 billion roadmap for regulating AI.
This struck me as a big surprise. Normally, because my view is technology gets to the federal government, or really to any government,
5 years too late.
Like Ohio, 10 years later. It's just like they're like right now they're in there talking about the internet, like that's a new thing, and you're just like, fuck, can you please catch up?
Tubes.
Yeah, they're just like, we should really think about IP version 6. You're like, where have you been? There's no law that came out of this, right? I think this is a handful of senators that were proposing a roadmap, but
it's a roadmap. It's the beginning.
But they seem to get it right.
They got everything I can see correct here.
Yeah, I mean, it was like
AI workforce training addressing AI-generated content in specific areas, including child sexual abuse material, election content, safeguarding private information, and copyrighted content. That pretty much is the ballgame.
Well, and
mitigating energy costs.
I mean, we've seen some crazy shit this week. There was the OpenAI Spring update, which I thought was really good.
Yeah.
There was this Google like one-off engineered demo of their new video system.
Wow, that was cool.
It was incredible, right? Like,
it's mind-blowing what that thing is doing. I understand they're working out when she walks around the office with that phone-like device and points it at things and asks the questions. They've worked through this script. They know it can answer all the right questions.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
So it's not like they haven't figured out what it can get and what it can't get. But what it gets is amazing.
Amazing. I'll put the link in for our listeners. But all I'm thinking about when they're doing this, right? Because I get over the hump very quickly of this is incredible. This has happened way faster than I thought. I already had a high expectation of what was going to happen. But then I think about all the power that's used.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, how many megawatts of power are we using right now? Like, they had to turn off Denver so they could run that ad.
Oh,
or
precisely.
so they could run that demo, right? They're just like, sorry, I want to run a demo really quick. We're just going to shut down Arvada for a minute. Just for real quick.
What's going to happen is your power bill at your residence is going to skyrocket because we need more power in other places. Demand for power is going to go up.
Demand for power? Yeah.
Okay, enough of the headlines. Up next, we're going to talk about bugs.
Jeffrey, no one likes bugs.
No one?
No one. Not even etymologists.
You're going to love these bugs.
Are they edible?
People do eat them, yes.
Oh, well, now I'm interested.
Let's go. Talk about an interesting month in science. CJ, do you realize we've had a solar eclipse?
Yeah, I was there.
Last weekend, we had a G5 geomagnetic storm where people in the United States could actually see Aurora Borealis.
Yeah, I'm extremely disappointed I found out about this after the fact because I would have driven up to see it like by Death Valley or Ridgecrest or something.
I should have told you because I knew.
I didn't know. Had I known, I would have gone. I was very disappointed. Some people did and it looked amazing.
Yeah, and right now, Eastern North America is awaiting an extraordinary emergence of periodic cicadas. This is a rare thing. They'll be be everywhere, and they will be loud.
That's a fruit, right?
Yes. For those who don't live in Eastern North America, what in the world am I babbling on about?
I don't know. I mean, that's the entire premise of this show.
You grew up in Michigan.
Yes, I did.
How do you not know about cicadas?
Oh, it's cicada, not circada?
Cicada.
Cicada. I don't know how to. I literally thought it was like a car that Toyota used to make in the 80s. I have no idea. No, I don't think we have them there. Do we have them there?
There are people who call it cicada, but they're mispronouncing it.
No, I haven't. I don't know what these things are.
Periodic cicadas, which look a little like locusts or grasshoppers that are dressed up like the Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, have a 4 to 6 week mating and egg laying season in the summer, usually beginning mid to late May. It's basically spring break for bugs.
That was basically me in college.
If you don't know much about cicadas, you may find, as I do, what follows very interesting. If you're already a cicada expert, you're dismissed.
All right, there goes nobody from our show. Carry on.
The females lay their eggs into very high, small tree branches, making a little slit and tucking the eggs inside. After she tucks those eggs in, she dies.
Can we just have one show that starts out happy? Just one. That's all.
6 to 10 weeks later, well before winter, the eggs hatch and the larva babies fall from the branches to the ground. They quickly burrow.
And they die.
A foot or two deep into the soil. They quickly burrow a foot or two deep into the soil. They have a little straw-like snout that they use to drink from the roots of trees, bushes, and shrubs.
There's no other explanation than this is just absolute random Darwinism happening. How the fuck does any of this work? How do they split the branch? Do they have little chainsaws?
They have a little cutter.
They go to Home Depot and rent it? They're going to die. They might as well not buy it.
Yeah, so they don't want to own. Sure.
Then why would you own it? Like, if these fuckers don't know, I'm going to die as soon as I lay these eggs.
The babies will dig around and drink sap underground for either 13 or 17 years and grow and grow and grow. And when they're reaching maturity, the nymphs will dig their way to the surface, creating what's called a chimney, which is a stack of dirt that looks like a finger pointing up out of the soil.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
They're underground for 13 to 17 years. That's insane. So
Understand how I said that. Listen carefully to how I said that. They're underground for 13 or 17 years.
Oh, it's not a range. It's a comma.
It's not a range. It's a comma.
Now I'm even more confused.
Eventually, they will emerge from a hole.
Okay.
The time of the cicada emergence depends on weather conditions.
Yeah, they don't want to come out in the rain.
For cicadas to emerge, the soil must be warm to about 64 degrees Fahrenheit, 17.778 degrees Celsius.
Such a better system.
8 inches or 20 centimeters beneath the surface.
Did you just mix fucking Celsius and inches?
I gave it both ways to you. I gave you the temperature.
Not the inches. You said 8 inches.
Oh, sorry.
I need 8 times 2.54.
You can do it.
Come on. Yeah, 20 centimeters.
Great. The ground temperatures are pretty close to that right now in most of the country.
At 8 centimeters.
At 20 centimeters.
Sorry.
The temperature's very close to 17.778 degrees.
17.77 repeating, of course.
So they're going to wake up. The little guys are going to climb up and come above ground shortly.
But you're only getting the ones that are 13 or 17 years ago. What about the ones that are 14 years ago and 12 years ago? Were they just still in school?
They're still juniors. They're not
I'm
ready
so
to graduate.
confused by So is it not common for the ground temp to be 17.77 repeating degrees Celsius?
One time it comes up from that temperature from winter.
I see.
And then it comes up when that round of cicadas, that they call it a brood. That brood of cicadas is ready to emerge.
It does seem to me that if they only emerge when it's at that temperature, I guess you would have like it's a regional thing, right? So what happens if it doesn't get to be that temperature? Do they just die in their little zombie chimneys?
Pretty sure as the summer comes, it always gets to be that temperature. I don't think you have a summer that goes by.
Oh, I see. So at some point they come out. What you're getting at here is they're all coming out at the same time.
They all come out at the same time at that temperature.
It's like a flash mob.
It is very much like a flash mob. I say it was like spring break, but yes, flash mob is a great way to put it.
I see.
Once above ground, the cicadas begin climbing trees, eventually clamping their little claws onto the bark super tightly so that they can squeeze out of their final skin.
Okay.
It's an exoskeleton, actually, which looks like a beetle carcass.
Okay.
But it's just a shell. And then the discarded shells rot, and wow, they totally stink.
Okay, let me get this straight.
Yeah.
So 13 or 17 years ago.
Correct.
Some crazy flying chainsaw carrying grasshopper cut open some trees, dropped off some kids.
Yes, she did.
Died.
Died.
By the way, there's been no speak of the males in this. What are they doing? Are they just in Cabo?
We'll get to them. We're going to get to the males.
And then the eggs come out that season, right? The eggs pop out that season as little, what are they called? They're not nymphs, they're little larvae?
Well, they're eggs, then you have larvae. The larvae fall to the ground and you get nymphs.
The larvae parachute to the ground, somehow survive that.
Without a parachute.
Bury themselves into the ground, then hang out for 13 or 17 years, waiting for the right temperature.
Underground.
So they're little tiny reverse zombies. I don't even know what these are. Underground, eating on the roots of trees.
Yes.
Okay.
Trees, bushes, shrubs. They drink from all of them.
Then they come out.
They can't really chew. So what they have is this thing that basically is like a little sucking straw that they can attach to the roots to get the moisture out and the nutrients out.
I had a dream like that once, but that's for another show. So then they come out and then they grab onto the bark and then they squeeze really hard. And I'm assuming they think they're going to take like a giant poop.
Yeah, I guess.
And instead, they Incredible Hulk themselves out of their skin.
They climb out of their own exoskeleton.
And then your problem with all of this is that their exoskeleton stinks when it rots. That's the first part that you go, there's something wrong with this.
I don't have a problem with that, but that is the truth. The exoskeleton does. You get all these shells everywhere. If you've ever seen it in the Midwest, if you've ever seen the ground can just be covered with these exoskeleton shells. Beneath that final shell, periodic cicadas have wings, bright orange wings to go with their bright red eyes.
Oh, geez.
But the insects don't make noise yet. The distinctive noise is the male's mating call.
Okay.
They don't make any noise until their soft skin hardens up, and that takes about a week. The males have an organ called the timbrel, which is sort of like the skin of a drum. Special muscles rapidly vibrate ribbed membranes on their abdomens to produce their loud calls.
Is it ribbed for their pleasure?
That noise, called thrumming, also alerts mammals and birds and lizards and snakes that a tasty meal is floating by.
It's like the dinner bell.
Right. Oh, exactly. Cicadas are a large and important food source for many animals. When there is a large periodic cicada emergence, those animals quantitatively flourish. As you can imagine with a buffet streaming by.
Of course. I like when the buffet comes to you.
Right. Oh, no, kind of handy.
That's kind of nice. Like, I'm just sitting at home and the Golden Corral buffet just rolls right by my cul-de-sac.
Floats by in the air right by you.
Right? This sounds great. Sign me up.
Once the thrumming starts, it is a contest of volume. The louder those cicada males can be, the more likely they're healthy, strong, good mates for females hoping for healthy, strong babies. It's also a flex for the strongest to make that noise during the hottest part of the day.
Oh, interesting.
Female cicadas make clicking sounds to respond to the male's singing. Unlike the greenish annual cicadas, periodic cicadas are known for their black bodies, clear wings, and bold red eyes. They breathe through 10 pairs of respiratory openings called spiracles.
Spiracles.
They have 2 on the thorax and 8 on the abdomen.
That's a lot of spiracles.
A lot of breathing.
A lot of breathing.
Their antennas are short and bristly. There are 7 species of periodical cicadas, 4 of which emerge every 13 years, and 3 of which emerge every 17 years.
Every time you say periodical cicadas, I feel like it's a bug like reading magazines in the library.
In addition to the annual cicadas that emerge every summer and spring, there are these periodical cicadas.
The periodicals are the 13,17 ones.
Correct. Now, I tell you all that to tell you this.
Oh boy.
This year, for the first time in 221 years, all 7 periodical cicada species will emerge at the same time.
Oh shit, they lined up?
These 2 broods have not emerged together since Thomas Jefferson was president 221 years ago.
Well, after that, they're like, that guy's into some seriously racist shit. We're going back into the ground. I ain't coming out for a while.
Their co-emergence won't happen again until 2245.
2245. Oh yeah, so you and I will still be doing the show then, I assume.
Let's hope. Although there will be a large cicada emergence in 2076. So brace yourself. This year, literally, 1 trillion cicadas are expected across parts of the United States.
No way. 1 trillion?
1 trillion cicadas.
If you gave each one of them $3, it would be Apple's market cap. Did that math in my head.
And they could fly around with their little $3 bill.
Just a little $3 bill. Look at us. Good luck, Tim.
Illinois and Missouri will see the largest concentration of cicadas. But broods 19 and 13 will appear in 17 states: Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Wisconsin, and Virginia. The 17-year cicadas typically affect the Northeast and Midwest and some southern states. The 13-year cicadas are common for southern and Midwestern states. The areas that can experience double brood cicada emergence in 2024 might include parts of the Midwest or the Mid-Atlantic, where both the 13-year and 17-year-old broods overlap. Broadly, as a percentage of land covered, however, there is little geographical overlap of the 2 broods.
The 13 and the 17. Are they friends? They don't crossmate, right?
In just a second, we're going to talk about that crossmating.
Usually you're the one that gets ahead of me on my segments. This is fun for me that I'm guessing the things you're going to say.
Why do the cicadas come out all at once in giant hordes? Why do you think they come out all at once like that?
Sale at Costco? They just get sick of sucking on those roots after a while? Like, fuck this. I got to get out of here, man.
All together.
It's like they're living in their parents' basement.
It's a survival tactic called predator satiation. There are so many of them that even the hungriest predators can't eat them all. You're never going to be able to impact the entire population because they come out in such large numbers.
I feel like I've had a sushi chef try this on me before. He's like, there's no fucking way you can eat all this fish. I'm like, oh yeah? 4 hours later, he's working on chapter 7 paperwork, and I'm just like, see ya.
Here's an important tip when you're outside and you hear cicadas.
Run.
Wear a hat.
Wear a hat?
Wear a hat.
So they don't nest in your ears?
Cicadas shoot streams of pee, little jets.
By the way, for non-obvious reasons, this same tip applies if you're around my children.
Sure.
Wear a hat.
Most insects excrete urine as droplets. Cicadas pee in a continuous stream. A new study published in March of 2024 found that understanding how cicadas pee can help researchers unlock new details about fluid dynamics.
Man, that guy got a shitty internship. Like, what are you working on? Curing cancer. What are you working on? Cicada pee.
Cicada pee. Cicadas peeing in a stream is unique because most insects that feed on sap, like cicadas, excrete it as droplets because it takes less energy. But cicadas drink so much sap that peeing in droplets is too much work. As with larger insects, it's more energy cost-effective to pee in a stream than in droplets.
Do you think there's like one smartass cicada in all those trillions of them that's like, don't cross the streams? Then he crosses the
One
streams.
who's seen Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters? Yeah.
Cicadas are the smallest animals to pee in streams. Relative to size, cicadas pee with more force than humans and elephants.
Relative to size?
They actually can fend off predators with jets of urine.
Fuck yeah, let me tell you, I've done that before. It totally works. Just don't try to out crazy anybody at MacArthur Park because your peeing will not work.
So know when you're hearing the thrum of cicadas, that dampness in the air, it's not rain.
Not rain. So your solution is just wear a hat, right? Not even like a poncho. Just protect your eyes.
Sure. Periodic cicadas are loud. In mass, they are typically louder than a gasoline-powered lawnmower.
Wow.
More on par with a big motorcycle.
Wow.
The loudest cicadas are the African cicadas. Their songs exceed 110 decibels, as loud as a chainsaw.
That's insane. I mean, I'm guessing like one of them is pretty loud. When you get 100 of them or 10,000 of them together, it's just deafening.
According to Floyd Schlockley, the co-lead of the entomology department at the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of Natural History, they're sort of goofy. They're not super great flyers, and they're kind of awkward when they land. They don't bite. They're not poisonous. If your pet eats one, it's not going to harm them. They're totally harmless to humans and domestic animals.
Okay.
Cicadas don't bite or sting.
Okay.
They use a long beak called a rostrum to pull sap out of trees. They won't cause damage to your home and are harmless to most plants, including vegetables and fruits. The cicadas prune mature trees, but don't hurt them. For those with newly planted trees, garden stores sell mesh that can go over them to protect them. As long as the cicadas can't get their mouth parts over the surface of the stems, they can't harm them.
They tried the same thing with me at the salad bar. They try to just put a little fence. If he can't get his mouth parts around it, he can't eat it. I cut right through that. I got a thumb, fuckers. I got tools. I know how to do this.
Cicadas only live above ground for a handful of weeks, so it's best just to ignore them until they're gone for the season. Their bodies, however, can clog your roof gutters.
Gross.
So you might need a cleaning when the season's over.
Although, opportunity there. You go to Home Depot, you can get one of those, it like adapts the rectangular gutter downpipe to a round one.
Yes.
Get that, put your leaf blower on it, blow those motherfuckers sky high, make it rain dead cicadas on your neighbors. Send me a video when you do this. It's not my worst idea.
Kind of stinky. You'd blow a huge nasty smell up into the air.
Okay, so they emerge.
Yes.
They rip out of their exoskeletons, and then I'm guessing their next most important thing is to mate, or they got to go through like an eating cycle and then mating?
The actual bodies have to harden, then they begin the mating cycle.
Yeah. No, I told my wife the same thing.
But it gets weirder than that.
Okay.
First of all, let's back up and say some humans eat cicadas.
Really?
Either boiled or fried.
Good source of protein?
I guess. It'd be kind of crunchy, I would imagine.
Sure.
There's a lot of, exoskeleton to that thing.
Delicious.
There's a misconception that they can harm gardens or crops. This thought came from colonists who first saw the cicadas and called them locusts, but the insects are not the same.
But you just said that you have to get like a mesh to go around your young tree.
Yeah.
How do they not harm plants? I have to get a mesh.
Because larger, more mature trees, they're not going to do enough damage.
No, but you just said they don't harm plants. They must harm plants.
They will harm little saplings, little small trees that you're just starting out because there's not much to them.
Okay.
With the emergence of two different broods all at once, will they interbreed is the question.
That's what okay, let's talk about let's get into the good stuff.
I didn't know there was going to be a musical lead-in. Today's grad students are gearing up to study the answer, which probably won't come until at least 2037.
Sure.
If you've got one 13-year cicada and one 17-year cicada and they mate,
15.
what are they going to be?
I can do that math.
Yeah.
I can do that. It's in my
Are
head.
you going to get a 15-year cicada?
And a 15-year cicada comes out.
We will not know until at least 13 years.
But this has happened before, right? You said like back in the TGF days, the 13 and the 17s came out.
It happened a long time ago, but there were a lot less graduate students available to study them at the time.
But you didn't get 15 out of it, right? You get more 13s or 17s.
As far as we know.
I mean, I would think.
Well, I don't know. Who knows? At that point, there might have been 34s and 26s.
I feel like we would have written that down. And I see what you're doing there. None of those numbers are prime, by the way. Nice try.
You might write that down.
Okay.
We've got an opportunity for either a new brood altogether, which is very rare, or they could join with an existing brood.
What's interesting is the 13 and 17 are, in fact, prime numbers.
Yeah.
They are the next in sequence.
Do you know how you might tell the difference between the two types of cicadas?
How do the 17-year-olds are driving a car and the 13s aren't?
Yes. Also, you need a special tool called an oscilloscope.
Okay.
Both 13 and 17-year cicadas look pretty much identical to most people.
Sure.
And they sound the same, producing the same volume of sound.
Is it the rate at which they thrum their thrum stack?
Yeah, the frequency, pitch, and tone of the male's mating song. The females don't sing.
I like that you refer to an oscilloscope as a tool.
It's a tool.
It is a tool, but I think of it more as a device.
It's a meter, yeah,
I
sure.
mean, I just wouldn't call it a tool.
The frequency, pitch, and tone of the male's mating song, the females don't sing, can be slightly different. Sometimes scientists who study them can often identify them on recordings, which brood they belong to.
Oh, it's Doug.
The cicadas offer a wonderful example of a beneficial ecological system. For 13 or 17 years, the juvenile cicadas called nymphs live underground, feeding off of sap of tree roots. They can burrow as much as 2 feet underground and find a good place to eat and go through the majority of their life cycle, and they aerate the soil while they do.
Sure.
Once the cicada dies about 6 weeks after emerging, there'll be a substantial amount of corpses laying around, and these decompose quickly in a natural process that's good for vegetation. The trees feed on the cicadas.
And great for the smell.
So here's some quick facts about cicadas. Believe it or not, there are facts we have not covered.
Okay.
There are over 3,000 species of cicadas found all over the world except for Antarctica.
Okay, they haven't made it down there yet?
Cicadas are not locusts, although they're both related and belong to the order of Hemiptera. Unlike locusts, cicadas don't form huge swarms that can devastate crops.
Okay.
Cicadas have one of the largest lifespans of any insect.
Yep.
Cicadas have a special piercing, sucking mouth part that allows them to tap into tree roots and drink the sugary sap. The mouths don't chew, so they can't eat solid food.
They're like the OG insect fleshlight.
Cicadas have 5 eyes, or at least they're thought to have 5 eyes.
They have 5 eyes?
They have 2 large compound eyes on the sides of their head and 3 smaller simple eyes located between them.
Wait, they have like a unibrow of eyes in between their main eyes?
Yeah. Their wings have a special nanostructure that repels water and bacteria, keeping them clean and helping them fly efficiently.
Maybe our good friends up in Washington State at Boeing should take a look at the cicadas.
And this is not even the most interesting thing about cicadas.
It's pretty fucking interesting. Okay, hit me.
There are these things they call cicada zombies.
Oh, this is like where the parasite gets in, eats their brains, and just keeps flying around, moving. Yeah.
Close. Fungus will infect about 10% of the cicadas and alter their behavior in creepy, creepy ways.
Don't they just call that RFK Jr. syndrome now? Too soon?
Instead of breeding infected cicadas will be controlled like zombies into spreading the strange fungus, hijacking their bodies and behavior.
See, listen, you never listen to me. This is why the code name for the project is TikTok. The CCP called the cicadas.
Oh, interesting.
It's the fungus to get into the youth and control all the youth with the floss dance. Something. Step 6, profit. I don't know. I don't remember.
The details of the fungus attack on the bugs, destroying the insect's genitals, replacing their abdomens with a cavity full of the fungal spores, manipulating the bugs into hypersexual behavior to spread the fungus further, and transforming the cicadas into what some scientists term salt shakers of death. May seem like they belong in a creature feature horror movie.
This fungus is like the Molly of the insect world.
When it comes to the fungus Massoporia cicadina, the truth is actually much stranger than science fiction. The spores make their ways into the cicadas' bodies, and from that point on, the cicadas are at the mercy of the fungal parasite.
That's amazing.
A mass of fungal spores builds up in the abdomen of each infected cicada. Eventually, like the back end of the cicada, including its genitals, fall off. In its place, a white fungal plug is exposed, a clump of spores that are erupting out of where the genitals and abdomen once were. It looks like a gumdrop that's been dropped in chalk and glued onto the backside of the cicadas.
How's your lunch going, listener? You enjoying those little gumdrops rolled in sugar? Mm-hmm. Have an extra one on me.
The infected cicadas will still attempt to mate with gusto. The fungus manipulates the cicadas' behavior, causing hypersexualization. The infected males keep trying to mate with females. They also change their behavior to attract fellow males.
Yeah, of course.
Healthy female cicadas flick their wings to indicate they're ready to mate. Both male and female cicadas infected with Massoporia flick their wings to draw in amorous, soon-to-be infected males. But attempting to mate is just one part.
Wait, there's more?
Of how infected cicadas spread the fungus.
Oh, boy.
Periodic cicadas have interlocking genitalia, so when they pull apart, rip. There's a cicada walking around with someone else's genitals stuck to them. And now that cicada is infected. With the...
This is like the STD of the cicada world. This should be like a PSA for the cicadas. I feel like I need to sit them all down, all trillion of them.
Oh, for sure. 2 things have happened. You've infected a new cicada. And the second thing is you've busted open the previously infected cicada, his plug.
Hold on. 3 things.
The chalky plug got ripped apart.
3 things have happened. The first is you've lost your abdomen and genitals. You just glanced right over that.
You've actually ripped it open like you've pulled a plug out at the end.
I feel like that should be the first thing. Hold on, I'll be right back. I gotta go vomit.
Once the chalky fungal plug is ripped apart, the infected and disemboweled cicada flies around, raining down fluffy brown spores like flying salt shakers, little salt shakers of death. The spores disperse by these flying salt shakers and go on to infect the next generation of cicadas that will emerge more than a decade later and begin the cycle again.
I'm sorry. I thought this was Studio 7B. I'm here for a tech variety show we do called Nonsense. This sounds like I stumbled into the weirdest aspects of biology.
Discovery class, yes.
What the fuck is happening right now? What is this, like Blue Planet, but it's White Chalky Planet? What's happening?
It's an awful lot of moving around and mating for animals whose bodies have been torn apart, a potential explanation for what keeps these cicadas cicadas going is amphetamine in those fungal plugs.
It really is MDMA. It really is Molly, isn't it?
Increasing the levels of dopamine and neopineprine in the brain.
Sounds right.
Amphetamines are powerful stimulants in humans, but what about in cicadas? Amphetamines stimulate the central nervous system of vertebrate animals. Insects such as cicadas are all invertebrates, so they have a different nervous system. It's not clear if those stimulants would affect them in the same way.
I'm sure we can find a bunch of people to
experiment,
rip some lines of this white chalky substance and see what happens.
So there's a powerful psychoaddictive chemical, but the powerful psychoaddictive chemical may do nothing to the insects. The fungus may have a different means of controlling the cicada's behavior, and the amphetamines it produces might serve to ward off vertebrate predators of cicadas, such as bird or reptiles, and thus of cicada-dwelling fungi.
Kind of like rabies? Yeah. Kind of like they're acting crazy, so you're just like...
If a person, dog, or cat were to eat the infected cicada, they would not be affected by the amphetamines in it. The dosage is too small.
Too small, yeah, okay. Nice, that makes sense.
One last thought on cicadas. Don't buy pesticides and spray your backyard to get rid of them.
Okay.
The cicadas will not harm humans or pets. They're harmless. Also, it's not going to work. You could spray every inch of your yard, and it wouldn't matter because they'll be back the next day. Not only that, but animals will eat the dead cicadas, so you'd be poisoning a lot more than just the cicada.
I mean, this is the problem I have with pretty much everybody except for me in my neighborhood that uses rat poison. I'm like, but we have hawks and owls and other birds of prey.
Well, now you have dead hawks and owls. Yeah, it's a terrible idea.
You don't want to kill them. Yeah, exactly. And it's like one of the coolest parts about living up in the hills is you get to see these crazy birds flying around. So rat traps, but neither here nor there.
So this is probably the week of this cicada emergence. It's impossible to predict precisely.
Sure.
And they're silent for the first week when they come out of the ground, so you don't really know exactly when until it's started, until the party starts. But this is probably it. We're probably here.
And then what? You're just like sweeping stuff up and shoveling dead cicadas?
The first thing you're going to get is just the ground covered with these shells.
Skeletons. Wow. We had, I do not remember these as kids growing up in Michigan. We did have, because we lived near the Lake St. Clair, we had these things that I just remember being called fish flies that were like, relatively lightweight, big flies. And when they would come in waves, you would have to literally, you'd be sweeping up inches of them like it was snow.
Oh, yeah. Right, because this is like snow.
Yeah, wow.
This covers the ground. The shells that come off of them immediately look like little dead beetles.
Sure.
And the ground is just covered
in them. Okay, so we've had solar eclipse, aurora borealis down in the southern states.
Dogs and cats living together.
Dogs and cats living. I have seen shit that would turn you white.
A plague of cicadas.
Wow. Okay, what's next? What else do you have in your bingo card for 2024?
I don't know. The nice thing is that cicadas seem like they're fairly benign. They're just very, very loud.
Unless you get the white, chalky, no abdomen, no genital cicada. He doesn't sound fine. Tell it to that guy.
He's not fine, but he's not gonna hurt you.
He's gonna fucking try. Dude, stop fucking my ear. Come on. Quit it. What are you doing? I thought we were friends. I said Netflix and chill.
And it's such a rare event. I mean, this is such a bizarrely rare thing that's happening this year.
Look, I flew with 30 of my friends to Texas to go watch the eclipse.
We have to fly and see the cicadas.
I feel like we need to go see the cicadas.
100%.
I feel like that should be our thing. I'm in.
Yeah.
But I guess you'll know by the time they start dropping shells. Like, when do you want to go see them? When they're mating?
You don't have much warning because literally the ground becomes of the correct temperature, and then you've got 7 days of silence, and then all of a sudden the party begins.
Yeah, but you don't want to be there for 7 days of silence. Nobody writes songs about that.
You want to be there for when the noise starts.
So do we just wait until
But the noise lasts for about 5 or 6 weeks, so you got a little bit of time.
So we got a window of time.
All right, we have to get out of here, but have you seen or read anything good this last week?
I mean, not as good as that. You just told me about all these crazy things that are happening with trillions of cicadas, and now I got to talk about my week of nothingness. Yeah. Well, so once the noise starts, we book some flights.
Great, I'm in.
2 weeks out. And, maybe it could possibly align with what I like to refer to as the best time of the year, which is the Stanley Cup Finals in hockey.
That sounds amazing.
I have not been watching as much hockey as I would like. However, if there are any listeners that are just fans of sports, you should watch the Stanley Cup Finals. I watched a little bit of the Edmonton-Vancouver game, and I watched, did you know who Connor McDavid is?
Yeah, sure.
He's like the second coming of Wayne Gretzky. They affectionately call him Connor McJesus, which I think is hysterical.
I hadn't realized Jesus was Irish.
No, nor a hockey player. But he wanted the challenge. That's what he said. He's like, fucking water into wine. That's easy, but I want a challenge.
But hockey, wow, that's tough.
So McJesus got, at the end of the game is over, gets cross-checked from behind from an opposing player into another opposing player's cross-check of the face. And I was like, this dude doesn't deserve this. And he just got up and skated off.
Oh, sure.
Meanwhile, there are some basketball players who will remain nameless who get tapped on the head and go rolling around on the floor for a while about how hurt they are. This dude took 2 pieces of lumber, not even lumber, carbon fiber shaft sticks.
Sure. sure.
One to the back.
Coming at high velocity.
One to the fucking face, and he just got up and like went off the ice. So
Because hockey players are way tougher.
And because I know you're bored with my hockey comments, I will say the other thing I watched this week was the OpenAI Spring Summit preview.
Oh, yeah.
That was talking about their new GPT.
Thanks to you, I got to see some of it too.
Yeah, we've talked about this on the show here before, and I think pretty much everybody poo-pooed me, including you. These things are getting personalities, and I'm telling you, it's fascinating. Thinking about like personality cards in your LLM is really interesting to me.
I never poo-pooed that they would get personalities or faux personalities.
She's getting pretty funny.
That's a different thing, though.
They're writing jokes.
The joke thing's harder.
It's way harder. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's going to get there.
We'll see.
Here's what was interesting about the OpenAI Summit thing. They're promoting their real-time conversation, so you can talk to it, right? You can ask it things, and there's no like 5-second lag. It comes right back to you with the answer.
Yeah.
And for the sake of the demo, they kept cutting her off. And in my mind, I was like, just fucking let her finish. Stop cutting her off. And I'm like, oh, it's an AI.
Because she'll never stop talking. She'll just keep going.
Well, I think
they want to get their lines in because they've got X amount of time.
Yeah. Are you the pot or the kettle? Do you want to be the pot?
Yeah,
Or do you want to be the kettle? Which one are you thinking today?
How about me? What have I seen or read this week?
Yes, that is what I would like to know. What have you seen or read that is better than what I've done this past week? Please, sir, go now.
It's actually not new. Derek DelGaudio's In and of Itself. Storyteller and conceptual magician Derek DelGaudio attempts to understand the illusory nature of identity and answer the deceptively simple question, who am I? DelGaudio is a storyteller, a performer, and a magician, and the show features two of the most extraordinary audience-involved sequences I've ever seen.
Wow. Two separate independent? Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah. You got to see this. This is live theater captured perfectly, directed by Frank Oz. Derek DelGaudio's In and of Itself on Hulu now.
I don't even know if I have a Hulu subscription, but I guess I'll have to get one now. I want to check that out.
It's actually part of Disney Plus now.
Ah, that's right. I've got Disney Plus. Yeah, of course. I give money to the mouse.
You're good to go.
You don't give money to the mouse, they come to your house. I want to fuck around with that. Last thing I need is Bob knocking on doors for that last earning call. Bob's going around door to door.
Where's my money?
Where's my fucking money? Bob, you're not wearing pants. Give me my fucking money. Jesus Christ, here.
Wow.
$20.
He's tough.
He's rough. He doesn't live that far away.
That is the episode.
Thank you for joining us for all this nonsense. A truly terrible podcast from The Awful Company. Visit us on the web at nonsense.productions. I'm CJ.
I'm Jeff Parker, the guy interested this week in bugs.
I'm the bug guy. I'm here with the bug guy. If you like this program, please follow, download, subscribe, and like at Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, AntennaPod, iHeartRadio, Spotify, my favorite Overcast, or wherever you may get your podcasts from.
Nonsense Studios are guarded by Barkley the dog. Barkley's a rescue mutt, free and open source. Next time you're tempted to buy an inbred dog or purebred dog, don't. Get a Barkley. You'll be so glad you did. Special thanks to our floor director, Venkat Mutiala.
We only have inbred dogs around my house. We like to match them to the children. Thanks, Venkat. We'll be here every Thursday morning for more nonsense. Please join us. Which bucket would you put that segment in? Would it go into the tech bucket, the business bucket, or the entertainment bucket?
I would go entertainment. Cicadas, I think, are terribly entertaining. If you walk outdoors and you hear the cicadas, it is like nothing you've ever heard before.